Hey everyone, this is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two great friends recap romance novels while giggling, gasping with incredulity, and connecting with amazing romance pals. This week we're starting with a Patreon shout out. Kate K. Beautiful Chickaloo Kate, you are descended from Talia, the Greek muse of comedy. Not only was she known for her exuberant personality, but her name loosely translates to the joyous and flourishing. And you get that, because you live your best life every day. Kate, you're a real-life comedy muse. I, for one, would bend over backwards to inspire your bawdy laugh. Our Patreon is where you can find tons of bonus episodes, videos, and so much more, so check that out. Today, we have something extra special for you. Sally Thorne joined Erin and I to talk about 90s masterpiece, Untamed Heart. To give you a little behind-the-scenes insight, the Australian and US internet apparently had a knockdown, drag-out fight while sending Sally's individual audio file, so I wasn't able to do the detailed edit I normally would. Don't get me wrong, the episode is still loads of fun, but my perfectionist soul needed to say that out loud, in front of you. Thank you for understanding, listener. Also, make sure to keep an eye on our social media this week, because we're giving away 5 Hating Game paperbacks with the movie tie-in cover. Now, I'm gonna stop yammering, because we need to get to Untamed Heart with the unmatched Sally Thorne. Oh, hello.
Hi, Sally Thorne. Welcome to the podcast.
I have been looking forward to this like an absolute insane person, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh, me too.
There are so many. I am dog sitting. There are so many dogs barking in the background. So I apologize if you listener can hear it. And also to my 2 beautiful co-hosts today.
Oh my gosh. So Sally, how have you been since you came to our Patreon book club? How have you been since that amazing day?
I've been just really riding that high for a long time. I've just really been recovering. I've been drinking a lot of fluids.
Oh, thank goodness.
It is really not my nature to spontaneously join events. So I need you to know how rare that was.
I was honored. I was shocked. I was like, listener, so what happened was we had a book club that was going to be about Sally's books. And then I was like, you know, she had liked our social media or whatever. And I was like, you know what? Shot in the dark. I don't even know what time it is in Australia. Hey, here's the link if you want to join. And then she was like, wouldn't that be weird though? And I was like, no, it would not be weird. Every person there would love it.
Well, look, you just never assume. Like, it could be just full of people that are like ready to take this set of books down, you know, the most overrated release of all time. I mean, I don't know, like, I obviously have some sort of issues to work through there. I don't know why people would bother putting so much time into joining to hate on a book, but I mean, I don't know what the internet's like, but I trusted you guys and it was lovely.
Yeah, it was the Sally Thorne book club. Like, I would, if they joined just to be trolls, I think that would be a very
I would eject them.
Special
Bye.
Kind of person that we would kick out of the Zoom.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just really an insight into just me generally, that I would assume that was not a safe thing to do. I don't know. I mean, I guess the therapy session has started now, right? So it all goes back to my childhood.
When you join something like that where people are going to be gushing over your books, it's kind of its own kind of anxiety.
Yeah, that's
too.
a different awkward as well.
So we ended up talking about a lot of different books and tropes.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was really, really fun. And again, thank you for lending us your time. It was really nice.
Oh, no, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
So today we're here to talk about this crazy movie. Oh, wait, I have one thing. Sally.
Yeah, you have a thing.
Hello. So I recently found out that my friends Bianca and Sheila are your biggest fans. Could you just say hello to Bianca and Sheila? They would lose their shit. Would you mind?
Hi, Bianca and Sheila. Thank you for being my fans. I think you're probably my second and third biggest fans because my mom is actually my first biggest fan.
Oh, you know what?
So I'm shouting out to my mom now. I've just co-opted this shout out.
That's even better. They just got a shout out along with your mom.
Yeah, that's a pretty serious shout out. Thank you. I appreciate
top-tier
it.
Shout out. Yeah.
They're going through a hard time, so I really appreciate that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
we
are here,
Erin,
to talk about.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear what Erin specifically wants to say about this movie because I know she's got some takes.
I have
Sally,
a lot of notes.
Untamed Heart.
You have the DVD version that you're holding.
I love
up.
it. Sally is always prepared. Remember in book club when we said that, what's your favorite author or whatever? And she's like, I always have a Nora Roberts within 5 feet of me and just held one up. Incredible.
I know. I stayed up all night researching Untamed Heart. And I mean, I've seen it so many times that I barely had to brush up for this, but I was holding for people that could not see what I was doing. I was holding up my DVD copy of Untamed Heart. It's an ex-rental bought from Video Easy, which is like Blockbuster when they closed down, and it's got a $5 sticker on it, and it was the best $5 spent yet.
That's right. I went through a journey with this movie. I'd never even heard of it before, honestly, because I live under a movie rock, as everyone will know.
Okay. I'm glad we could do this then.
I haven't seen it. I assumed when I saw 1993 Christian Slater, we were going to get some true romance, some Heathers, sort of like a murder smolder, like a burn things and like kill people to get to the lady he loves, sort of a Christian Slater.
Oh
and
boy.
What we got
Prince of Thieves.
It was different.
No, what we got was a Christian Slater who may have been raised by meerkats.
May have been.
He definitely was raised by nuns.
No, I'm convinced. I think that whole throwback section was a red herring that was completely made up in his tiny meerkat brain because this man had never seen another human before. This man had never encountered another human person.
You know what?
Before this movie started.
This is I'm really into this at the moment. I would rather have a guy that had never beheld a human lady before than some smooth CEO or a guy that runs a casino or something.
Yeah.
Fair.
I'm into this. This is really a window into what has shaped me as a writer as well. A lot of this is just really formative romance weirdness 101 for me. And we were saying before we started recording that I'm pretty old. I mean, I know that I look like I'm 20, but I'm actually 40. So 1993, I think I probably hit puberty right during this movie. So let's get into it.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend about this, and we were talking about how you imprint on whatever weird, dangerous loner is the it boy when you're between 11 and 14.
Yeah.
And mine was Skeet Ulrich. Mine was Scream villain Skeet. So I understand where you're coming from. I get it.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. So we got to start this thing. We start in an orphanage in the way back times in probably late 70s, I'd say. And there is a forlorn boy.
Sepia tone, broken bike. It is a classical music. It is the opening to Citizen Kane. It is the way this thing opens is so somber.
Okay. You want to hear my very first note? It says snowy lawn, desolate bike. Sign on building says, bless the beasts and the children. And I want that sign in my house.
But actually, that's incredible foreshadowing, don't you think?
Yes.
In terms of foreshadowing.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. And I agree. When the movie opens, you're thinking, have I put the wrong DVD in?
Yeah.
For real.
No, but we get to meet very sick Adam. He's got a scar in his chest. And that is because in the jungles, they put in they put in a baboon heart. I almost said a tattoo heart, and I don't know where that came from.
The scar on his chest is not...
It's nuts.
Okay, listen, I'm just going to say this straight out. I know that this is maybe not Melody's take on the movie. I would like to hear what Sally's take is. But here's the thing. This man has a baboon heart given to him by the Baboon King. Full stop. Like, Erin, objective. That's canon.
She's not going to entertain
no other theories. Nope. That is what happened. I don't know.
You can't prove that it didn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of evidence to back this up. I feel like Adam also had a lot of evidence to back this up. One of the things that I think is like very telling is that this scar is fucking nuts. It's like diagonal type. It is not a medical procedure.
It's a Frankenstein scar. That's what it is.
Actually, Sally, is it a Frankenstein scar? You should know.
Oh yeah, Sally's been deep in Frankenstein times.
Yeah, you should tell us about that too.
Yeah.
I am. I mean, that makes me sound like I have been performing sort of my own medical experiments in my home.
Haven't you?
I'd like to assure listeners that I have not.
I thought that was the research process. No.
No, not quite yet. It's actually illegal in Australia to reanimate human beings.
Really?
Wow,
yeah,
that is
I know.
A damper that they're put on the creative process, and I think we need to have a word with the whole of Australia.
I know. I mean, it is pretty hard to live with, actually. We're really backwards in a lot of ways. So, long story short, I wrote a book called Angelica, Frankenstein Makes Her Match, and everything that you need to know is in the title.
Oh.
And I will confirm that the scar that we see on Christian Slater, particularly as an adult, is like what I would call a cartoon scar.
Ooh.
It's like at least 1.5 feet long, and it's got these huge cross stitches across it that are.
It looks like a football. Looks like a football stitch.
Yes, it does. It's the Super Bowl of
oh my god, it's amazing.
Heartthrobs.
And I can't emphasize this enough. Diagonal.
I have my own theory that the nuns in the orphanage actually just, because when he collapsed in the orphanage, it didn't seem like calling an ambulance was an option. So I have a feeling that that Mother Camilla at some point just said, "Bring me some hot towels."
You think she's the Baboon King? Oh my God, Mother Camilla is the Baboon King.
Okay, well, we've busted this wide open and we're only a few minutes in. And we've got a snort there. Someone snorted.
Okay, wait, because listener, he's sick and he's like looking forlornly out the window while kids get adopted and stuff. And he only ever gets to spend time with Mother Camilla. And Mother Camilla always puts him to bed by telling him about his heart. And the story is, we hear it at the beginning, it's about the Baboon King and how that Baboon King was doing like medical experiments. It wasn't quite that.
It wasn't
quite
it.
That.
No.
It was his parents lived in the jungle.
That's the one.
And his father was trying to steal a chest of rubies that he needed to heal Adam's heart.
Magical
And the Baboon King came down from the peaks of Kilimanjaro.
That's right.
He caught him stealing the rubies and struck him down dead. But when he found out that he'd had a sick child, the Baboon King was so overcome with sorrow that he pulled his own mighty baboon heart from his own chest and placed it into the child. So that does account for that weird scar, really, if that's the truth.
It does.
It is. That is canon. I think that is absolutely what happened.
No, and then he was raised in that jungle for at least 7 more years. He got all of those animalistic qualities, and then he was thrown into that diner, straight into that diner. That's what happened.
He had the nuns' times for a little bit, then he went into the diner.
Fair.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's
we're almost there. We're almost at the diner.
Yeah.
Let's
and
move,
I think that, like, can we just get this out of the way?
Please.
Oh
my God. I was sitting at the diner. I lost my actual mind when that song came on. I lost it. It's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Her routine, like her cigarettes, like Marisa Tomei is like so hot in 1993 and like so like she's cute and hot and like so cool. And she's got her like matching bra and panty like lace set and she's like
rushing up
red bodysuit. Yeah.
She's tearing off the pink waitress uniform that looks so good on her. Like,
Oh my God.
how dare she? She's running up the stairs and she's obviously late for something. She's run past her mother. I also love the fact that the parents have no lines in this movie. It
Love
was
it.
really related to me as a teenager. I was
It's
like,
so good.
the parents are like not barely even, they're just
Background noise.
props in the background. And she's getting changed. She's ready to go. She's rushing. She's getting ready like a girl in the 90s.
Yeah,
like
she
getting her
lights her-
eyeliner.
Yeah, she lights her eyeliner on fire. Oh, it's good.
She does the
So good.
spritz and the swoop into the spritz.
Oh my God, the
to
swoop.
get her
I've never
perfume
seen
on.
the swoop.
Oh, I loved it.
I used the
Yes.
swoop today because it was the first time I had encountered it.
That's nuts. to
My
me
hair
now.
smells amazing.
It's good.
Then she has the weirdest breakup of all time.
First of all, I have one thing to say before, since they know it's a breakup now. So
Sorry.
she has busted ass to get, like, she did a cold wash of her armpits and stuff. She has rushed to get ready for this date. And then this absolute Creighton comes driving up to, like, supposedly pick her up, and he's honking. And when you find out that he's honking so that she hurries up to get out there so that he can break up with her, and not because he's taking her somewhere, it like really changes his whole deal for me.
Was he driving a snowplow as well?
Yes.
'Cause that's a nice touch.
Yeah.
I don't think that's not like a full-on snowplow. It's just a truck with a plow on the front. Like
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
people
yeah.
have
it's
those.
a pickup truck with a. Oh, do a lot of
Oh.
people have those? Do they, Erin? I didn't know that.
I don't hear a lot of people have those. You just put your plow on the front of your truck in the wintertime. This is supposed to be
then-
Minnesota.
Then you giddy
Right?
up.
Okay,
I
well, we
thought we
don't
were
have
in New
snow in
York.
Australia, so
Yeah, I thought we
Well,
were in
here
New
in
York for a
Alaska
good
we
third of
do,
this.
and a lot of people have those.
okay, all right. I take it back. I apologize to all listeners who have one of those on the front of their car.
So now she's at the diner with Rosie Perez, and they're going through all her bad boyfriends, and they're smoking so much. The smoking in this movie was
my gosh.
so like
Out of
like
control.
every moment somebody had a cigarette, and I'm sorry,
so
listener,
good.
but they all looked so cool.
They
Like they
look
looked
so
so cool
hot.
with their cigarettes.
Yes,
God.
it's actually like almost a plot point in the movie at some point.
Yeah.
Like, and I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
guys, why do you think there was so much smoking in this movie?
Because
Was
it's
it to make them all seem older, or was
Maybe.
it still cool in 1993?
I
think
bet
it's just
that
like
Marlboro
93 that like
paid them monies
possibly.
for one thing.
I think it was just that like coffee and cigarettes, like art film kind of culture at that time. Like I
Right.
think that was just kind of what was in the zeitgeist. That's my take.
Well, in this first scene, we also see Rosie Perez spraying her fringe with hairspray while she's
Oh.
smoking. It was iconic. She is one of the
Rosie
greatest things about the
Perez.
movie, like, in my
Oh,
opinion.
yeah.
Absolutely.
She's just like that work best friend that keeps your head on straight, tells it how it is, and she's electric. Later on, we'll talk about her moves on the dance floor.
Oh,
But she's just great. She smokes when when they go ice skating. She's smoking on the ice skating rink.
Yes.
It's amazing.
So many iconic fashion looks. I
Yes.
mean, I want a movie about her. Like, is it too late?
I
know,
know,
I
right?
like
Adam
Vincent.
doesn't fall in love with her. I mean, Marisa Tomei is like super hot, but I would have definitely fallen. She's like electric in this movie, Rosie Perez.
Perez would never give him the time of day, and we all know it.
Yeah, we know why. We know exactly
Yeah.
why. She
Yeah, we
tells us
do.
later.
Yeah.
Yikes.
The best line in the movie, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're all sitting around and they're talking about, like, which guy was Steven? Oh, was he the one with the fig tree? No, that was Mike. You know, like, we're getting the picture that this is a young lady that has got a lot of love to give, and she's just found nothing but duds in the dating scene in, I guess, it's Minneapolis in like 1993. Things are pretty
Bleak.
grim, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's bleak.
Yeah. And Rosie Perez has a New York accent that made me believe we were in New York until roughly a third of the way into this movie. So I want to know when she was
happened to see
transplanted.
something when I Googled the movie. I saw something about Marisa Tomei did such and such to practice her Minneapolis accent. And so that's
Ooh.
what got it in my head. I
Nice.
don't know that she had one, but that's what I read.
Okay, so as
okay,
she
so
leaves the
then-
diner,
Yes.
she like walks out, and all we see is creepy ass long-haired Christian Bale busboy Christian Bale just like staring at her alarmingly out the window.
Do you have a different take, Sally? No, Christian Slater. Mel.
Christian Slaters. I don't know who anybody is.
Christian Slater, and we first get to see the hair, that 90s hair on men, where it was like cut too long. I mean, there was a reason for his long hair coming up later in the movie, I guess. But
it's because
Bale had that long hair that was kind of flipped over and at this angle that somehow never really went over the eyes too much.
I know. It's because of the grease factor.
Yeah, because the grease held it in place. The grease
really held it.
Yeah. And look, it was hot in the 90s. Like, no guys looked like they had a shower in a week in the 90s. It's just how it was.
When Christian Slater had his hair like straight back, like when he had the longer hair and it looks like he just like raked his hand through it and it's stuck there due to grease, that makes my heart go.
Oh yeah, it was hot.
This creepy leer did not do it for me.
Well,
but
it's great foreshadowing because someone says as Caroline leaves, be careful, there's some crazies out there.
Yeah.
Should we at this point give a trigger warning for
yes.
Yeah. It gets a little intense.
Right.
Yes.
So don't watch this movie if depictions of near sexual assault and very ominous predatory behavior freaks you out.
And assault.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Complete assault. Absolutely.
Full on assault. Attempted sexual assault.
Yeah.
And also, well, I just want to put it out there. This does not have an HEA.
Oh, it doesn't have an HEA. I think
we need to warn everybody.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't or it does. And we can talk about it.
But like, I think fair to say it doesn't. Right?
No, yeah. No, I was sobbing on my couch last night. So no, it doesn't.
You have a contemplative
What do you
look.
think, Sally?
Yeah, look, it's one of those movies where you have to decide at the end for yourself if it was romantic or if it was sad.
Yeah.
So look, you guys, you're strapped. You've come this far with us. Just
keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay, so there's a busy night at the diner. There's like a wedding there, which is strange. And he's just back there bleeding in the kitchen. Just like he's just got like a cut on his hand.
And he's acting like Tarzan. This is my note. He's acting like Tarzan. He's like looking at her like he's never seen her in his life. And he's in love. So much blinking. And he doesn't know what a Band-Aid is. Even though he has encountered medical procedures before, y'all.
Magical ones, though.
That's right. Magical ones. That's right. Mother Camilla did transform into the King Baboon.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was under some sort of really strong like gas when that procedure happened. But yeah, so anyway, Caroline is ordered by the nasty boss, who is always counting money in a suit for some reason, to go back and find where Adam is. Where is Adam? Where's this idiot? And he's back there with a very bad cut on his hand. He's ceased to function. He's just standing there looking at his own hand. Mist. He really was. He's possibly bleeding out. I don't know.
A hand wound.
Caroline swings into action. She talks a mile a minute. This is her. She sort of, the quieter he is, the more she wants to fill the silence. And I relate to that in a little bit. And she basically performs first aid on him while doing this monologue about how she always had a real Christmas tree when she was a child, but now they're all plastic. And then she remembers that, oh wait, don't you work at the Christmas tree
the farm? The store, whatever it is.
And she tells him that he smells like a pine tree. And that was at that point where I was like, oh no, I used to line like that in the hating game. I plagiarized Untamed Heart in the hating game. I wrote down in my notes, did I plagiarize? I think I did.
No, you didn't. Because also,
because
like,
Lucy
in addition,
didn't say, I'm going to put a star on top of you. So
which
we're
I
fine.
thought was the cutest line.
It was
you smell like a pine tree. I'm going to put a star on your head. Oh, I thought that was so cute.
Me too.
But also, like, she notices he's covered in sap.
Yeah.
So he's just like back there in the kitchen of a restaurant, just like covered in tree sap and bleeding, just like haplessly staring at his wound. Like, this is not sanitary. It's not a good idea. So you didn't do that in the hating game. You weren't like, and he was covered in sap. Like, that wasn't part of it. So I think it was different.
But you have to admit, for a sex scene, like I'm a sucker for a sex scene, and it was a good one. You know, like
it was very cute.
She bandaged him up, and did he even say anything? Did he whisper a little thank you at the end?
Yeah, after she was completely out of earshot, he said thank you in his Christian Slater voice. Oh my gosh. And it was really cute because she looked at him and she said, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to make you talk to me. Like, I will just keep monologuing, but you don't feel pressure to talk to me. It was really adorable.
Kind of sweet, yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
So then there's a douchebag and Stanford from Sex and the City.
Stanford from Sex and the City? Why is Stanford there? Why are you doing rape, sir?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
also,
it was so jarring
he was
to
bald
me.
at 22.
Oh yeah. But like it was so jarring that just like Stanford shows up and is just like, we're gonna bang some bitches, am I right? It's like, whoa,
what?
Sir,
I hate it.
Gosh.
Yeah, so they're beating up her cigarette machine, and she has made an investment in this cigarette vending machine and put it in her place of work. And so they're like, it's not even your machine. Like, don't tell us not to boss it around. And she's like, actually, it is my machine because I'm a business lady who makes investments.
I never understood if she was lying and just to tell them that to take better care of it, or was it her? Who buys a cigarette
I thought it was
machine?
hers.
I thought it was hers. I felt like she took it really personally.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like she could have been just lying to get them to stop, which I think is also very plausible.
Yeah. So then these D-bags, one of them is he turns into a hot man like in future late actor times. And I can't remember who the fuck he is. It seems like he might be like in a procedural or something. Listen, it doesn't matter. Tall white guy, and he is like, hey, you know that girl? Like, I'm pretty sure I banged her at like a Christmas Eve party or something like that. A New Year's
There was
party.
that inference where he had a bit of a dirty smile, and he was like, remember that party, the basement? And he specifically requests that she waitress his table.
Yeah.
She's really uncomfortable. And I just want to say that Marisa Tomei's acting skills in this movie, like we're laughing a lot about this movie, but I think she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
She's so good in it.
She's so vulnerable, and she has such moments of like childlike fear in her eyes, and then resolve, and grimly hoping that this situation is just going to go away, and fake smiles. And I just really felt for her as she was trying to take the orders for this table of these two guys that are basically intimating that she parties a little too hard and
harassing her. Like,
they're harassing her. It's horrible. And I wish she'd gone over to her money counting boss and said, Jim, get these guys out of here. But I guess it still wouldn't have helped her, because as we are about to get into, she has to walk home after this scene. And like, it's hard. This scene for me has always been really frightening. It's full on.
It's really realistic.
In my
like
notes,
how they talk to her.
Yeah, and my heart was just like beating. Like wow. Yeah,
it's a really powerful scene. They catch up to her as she's walking home. It's past 4 a.m. and first of all, they follow her in their car and try to get her to get in, and then they get out and walk through the park with her. And the panic on her face as they get deeper and deeper into this park, and she realizes that where this is going, it's really hard to watch. And I was a teenager when I watched this, and I was always walking around everywhere and was always really aware of, you know, cars around me and guys yelling out windows at me. And so it really hit me hard, this scene. And basically there's some danger drums. We know that there's some danger coming, because there's some strong drum beats.
Yeah. And one of the things I found to be so accurate and I don't know, like really emotionally impactful was the way that they captured these men were saying totally normal things.
Right.
Nothing
like the things
said,
they're saying are really like benign.
The words they were using
up until a point
were normal stuff, right? But like you could feel that the way they were saying it, their body language, like all of that, like it was predatory. So they chase her and they get close to us, like they do assault her. They're like one is like Stanford's holding her, and Howard is getting ready to do some bad things. And then out of the darkness comes Christian Slater, and he
in the best sweater.
Oh, in the best sweater. Yeah. Big chunky sweater. And he beats them to a pulp, sometimes with pieces of wood and shit. It's nice. It's great stuff.
It's satisfying to watch. Caroline is actually unconscious at this point.
Right.
She's been held down and her head has kind of been banged on the ground a few times and she's unconscious. So she doesn't see all of this go down. Adam has questionable choices at this point because if it was me, he wouldn't have had a cell phone, but he should have gone and gotten the police. But he decides that he's just going to pick her up and carry her home. At this point, we don't know how he knows where she lives, but that's what he does.
But we do find out.
We do find out later. Stay tuned.
I also feel like if you're going to pick up the woman and carry her somewhere, it shouldn't be to the porch swing of her house in the outside in December when she does have a head wound that could be swelling. You don't know what's going on inside that head as far as like hemorrhaging, swelling. Where you should probably go is like maybe a hospital or
at least
a police station or a fire station.
A phone.
Yeah, maybe an indoor.
Knock on the door and just say,
if you pass a place of business on your long walk home, or even when you get to her house where she lives with her parents and her brother, instead of just laying her on the porch swing and then sitting on the porch looking at her shivering, maybe do a knock and maybe her parents live there because you frequently break into their home to watch her sleep. So like, that there are other people that live in this house.
Erin.
Sorry.
Spoiler alert.
I'm sorry. But like, I just felt like the medical attention was lacking.
Oh, it was.
And then when she wakes up in the morning, it's another scene where she looked dead to me as she was laying there. She looked quite dead. Honestly, she needed an ambulance. And when she gets up and realizes that her dress is torn, like the zipper is broken all the way down the front, and she has all of these memories coming over her, and he just sits there looking at her. And then he just gets up and just runs away. He doesn't say, by the way, you weren't raped.
Right.
I stopped them in time. So she is left to cry in the shower and be so traumatized that she takes a week off work.
Yeah, she has no idea. And I'm sorry, but I have to talk about his mannerisms because he doesn't just get up and walk away. That is ultimately what happens. But really, he's like craning his head around and he's like acting like he's really skittish and stuff. And he's like coming around the pillar and just like looking at her like a meerkat. And like,
no. Melody,
what?
Like a baboon,
and
runs away. He's like very hunched over and he has kind of these like straight arms where he like starts walking and then like hunches and then runs like some
Erin,
kind
my
of
text to you last night was that I really think he was raised by a family of ferrets.
But the canon is that he was raised by baboons. So why don't we just go with that, Mel?
Because it's changed. It's changed.
Meerkats and ferrets have impeccable posture.
How dare you? Ferrets are like ferrets are shaped like a C. Also, I'm
sorry
they
die a lot. You have to be here for our breakup. This must be very awkward for you.
This is an unusual hill to die on. And don't worry. I personally feel that, the characterization of him was quite animalistic in a lot of ways, that he wasn't speaking. He does sort of have a tilted over. His walk is very short steps and stumpy. I wrote down in my notes, how tall is Christian Slater? Like, is he a very tall man or is he not a very tall man? It's impossible to know. His physicality in this movie is really intriguing. And I agree that he was made for knitwear, turtleneck.
Oh, God, yeah.
The jawline that he was given by the jaw guard.
So handsome.
He's gorgeous. For me, he has a very canine werewolf look to him that it's always really appealed to me, like really lupine eyes and sort of a cruel kind of pointy toothed look to him. It all works for me, but I can't forgive him for running away. Why was he more afraid than her? Like, it made no sense.
I know, like, let her process a tiny bit at the very least. But yeah, she cries in the shower, takes a week off of work. At one point, she's in a mall and going up an escalator, and he does just like grab her hand as he's going down the other escalator. And it freaks her out at first because like a stranger is touching her. And then when she sees him, they like make meaningful eye contact with one another. But then he just fucks off again. Like he just disappears into the crowd.
The whole point of that scene was just to see the way that the light just probes across his face.
That's true.
Dark to light over and over. That jawline, those eyes. I can't see any other reason for that scene.
No, and I also can't see any reason for him to be in a mall because
Why
I
is
know
he
he
in a
doesn't
mall?
understand how commerce works. I know he's
Right.
not buying things. I think that maybe on his days off from the restaurant, that he goes to the mall and rides the escalators up and down all day.
And grabs people's hands.
Oh yeah, what
human
if it
touch.
wasn't about her?
That was her at all. He's like, oh, hey. Well, we know that he hasn't really had a lot of human touch, so this does track. I think he's just out experiencing. He's like, look at me, I'm a human man doing what human men do, going up and down. And again, Marisa Tomei, her eyes convey it all, like the disgust of someone touching and kind of giving her a bit of a lengthy squeeze on the hand, to fear, to realization, to sort of pity, to sort of like when you see like a dirty little lost child in the mall. Yeah. You think, well, where's your mother?
Where's
That's kind of the look. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of what it was.
Yeah. Oh, hey, HBs. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get over 150 bonus episodes, most of which include Erin, videos of regular episodes, author hangouts, and so much more. Do you want to hear Erin and I recap every single episode of Crash Landing on You? What about a little film called Psycho Stripper? Do you want more recaps of ridiculous Thanksgiving and other holiday books and movies? And how do you feel about Naima Simone and I recapping amazing reality TV? All of that and more is on the Patreon. There's so much content at your fingertips as soon as you sign up. Seriously, hours and hours. Anyway, it's patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms Podcast if you want to check it out. And of course, that link is in the show notes. Keep being a badass.
Yeah.
So then her next shift, her brother has to drive her to, or like her brother drives her to work basically. And she's like, you have to come get me at 2. And he is like, I don't really want to. Erin, don't worry about it. It's okay.
I know, it's just like right now is when the neighbors decided to like do their sewer thing. So there's all these trucks and stuff. I'm really sorry.
Don't worry about it.
I know it's going to be a hard edit, and I'm sorry you guys have to listen to it.
We've all heard what dogs bark.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm just anxious. Okay. All right. I'll stop
good.
making faces then. Sorry.
No,
just
it's okay.
Just feel the Untamed Heart fantasy. Just like surrender to it.
That's right.
You've got to, like, this is the kind of movie where you have to go all in on it.
It's true.
Yeah, you're right. I can't be listening to dogs. You're
That's right.
I need to be all the way in. Okay. All right. Okay.
So when she gets there, she's like, you have to come pick me up. And he does a big complaint about it. But like, that's the agreement they come to. Mm-hmm. And then
whoa.
There.
The brother?
Yeah.
I have a bone to pick with this because he very clearly says, I am not picking you up. I have to be up for school in the morning.
Yeah, but then she's like, but if you want the fucking car, like if you're making the decision to go out tonight when I need the car, then you're going to come and fucking pick me up.
But then he doesn't agree. He just zooms off. And so the idea that she waited for him, even though he explicitly said, I'm not coming for you, I think was
he
a
didn't
little
mean
bit...
to. He just fell asleep in the recliner.
Maybe. We'll never know.
Yeah, maybe that's his bedroom, you know?
Maybe that's just where he sleeps.
So I just want to ask a question. I want to ask a question at this point. How old is Caroline?
I think she was like early 20s. Yeah.
She lives at home. She has no car. I've really questioned it as I was going through the movie. Like, I know how old she looks. She looks mid-20s, but the fact that she still lives at home and doesn't have a car, she feels quite young to me. So we'll just keep an eye on that as we continue on.
Well, she's in beauty school too. So I was thinking like she was in her like post-high school work training with this part-time job. So I was like 20.
I was thinking 19 or 20. Yeah.
Okay.
So some regulars tell her that 2 of the guys who were in there last week or whatever, the ones who were beating up her machine, showed up at the hospital and they were beat to hell.
two guys named Bill with mugs that say Bill. Like, I think that needs to be noted for the listener.
It adds to the colorful
Yes.
Suzanne
Yeah.
Vega, Tom's Diner feel that the movie is really going for.
Yes.
And so she's shocked by hearing this, and she goes and she finds Adam, and they have what is another one of their very strange exchanges. I think you would
really
agree.
Cute.
She just, she's like, "You've been following me home?
Yeah.
You know where I live?"
Mhm.
And then instead of just trying to question that for a moment, she then thanks him profusely for saving her.
Yeah.
And she gives him a kiss on the cheek, and he's like shook. He's like,
Oh.
"Whoa."
That was revolutionary.
But
for
she
him.
keeps he keeps trying to say something, and then she jumps in because she's trying to fill the silence. Then he keeps saying, "I wasn't finished," which kind of becomes a runner. Yeah, because he's the slowest talker in the world, and she's the fastest talker in the world, and it's very cute.
But he says, like, "I followed you," or like, "I follow you," and she was like, "You follow me?" He's like, "I wasn't finished. I follow you at night to make sure that you get home safe." And then he says, "I'm sorry." And she goes, "You're sorry? This is the first time I heard you speak, and you're saying sorry for saving me?" And he's like, "I wasn't
No,
finished."
he's saying sorry for stalking you.
I'm
like,
sorry. No,
there's
he
two
was
things
not.
happening here. One
No, he was
thing,
not
one thing
being
is the
sorry for that.
stalking, and one thing is the saving, and we need to hold both in our hearts
We do.
as this movie goes forward.
No, it's
because
true.
both are happening.
No, but he was not apologizing for the stalking. He is fine with that. What he's apologizing for is not getting there in time before, like, they got a few swings in or whatever. He's like, I make sure every night that you're safe. And like the one time you get attacked, it took me an extra 3 minutes to get there. Like, I was late. And she's like, "Oh no, not at all." It's very sweet, and it's very cute. And it shows a really kind of adorable yet awkward dynamic that I really liked, actually, at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. I love that she's messy and that she is kind of hard to watch sometimes, the way that she like basically says everything that's in her mind.
Yeah.
And he's just so unknowable. And I think I related to that as a teenager. You know, you really love the thought that maybe the guy for you is just right under your nose, and he is gorgeous. How has anyone not noticed Christian Slater is washing the dishes out the back? He's gorgeous.
I know.
But in this reality, no one's noticed him because he's weird. But if in my reality, I would have noticed him. And to think that he had been like watching over me in some sort of fairy tale capacity. Because it is kind of quite fairy tale, isn't it? You know, that he's like the knight in shining armor, and he's followed her into the forest type park and saved her life. It's like, it's really, it's kind of not, it has sort of a magical realism feel to it in a weird way.
Definitely, because he does have a baboon's heart.
That's a huge theme in this movie. Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, like, I think that like Rosie Perez, as we'll learn in the next scene, we're about to get to her dance moves and stuff.
Ooh.
But like, she says she's noticed that he's hot because like, Marisa Tomei, Caroline says, "Yeah, what do you think of Adam?" And she goes, "I'd do him if he wasn't so dumb." So it's not, I mean, I think she has, like, the other waitresses have probably clocked hot, but they've made assumptions about why he doesn't talk, you know, that he's creepy, which they are correct.
Not wrong.
He's creepy. But that he's like dumb, or he's mute, or there's some kind of like a learning disability or something there, you know.
And then another one of the waitresses has spread rumors that he's part ape, which again, not wrong.
Not a rumor. If he sued her, he would lose.
He would,
because it's true.
And then
I'd love to see that deleted scene where he tells Lottie that he has a baboon heart. Like, how did she get to talk to him?
Yeah.
Like, I love it. Did he write it on his like incoming like HR form? Like, is she the HR lady at Jim's Diner, and he had to disclose his transplanted baboon heart?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's a lot of questions, but we really need to just get to the cool dancing in the diner. They're closing up, and Cindy, Rosie Perez, is dancing. It's cool. It's fun. It's got a great soundtrack, this whole movie. And she and Caroline end up having this really weird little argument out of nowhere.
Okay, it was weird, right?
It was weird.
Okay.
It was weird. It was like she invited Caroline over for Christmas. Caroline said, maybe. And then Cindy erupts into, you've never finished anything in your entire life.
Yeah. And I was like,
you've
that's
dropped
a
out of
non
beauty
sequitur,
school.
Rosie Perez. That's
Yeah, I think it was, it felt out of nowhere, but maybe we don't know how long this has been simmering.
Their friendship really did seem really like lived in, because then they start fighting, and then kind of the way they recover from it by just like calling each other a bitch and a slut and a whore and like all these things,
well,
and
like
then just kind of play
but,
fighting,
like, snapping each other with towels and stuff. It was really, really cute.
And then we see Adam without a shirt for the first time.
Yeah, we do.
Caroline stumbles across him getting changed out of his entire shirt, so he's shirtless. And we see the cartoon scar again. And he's, look, like, let's just say that like six packs and abs and chests weren't invented in 1993, and that was okay. That's just what guys looked like back then. We had no expectations. I liked it. It was a normal body apart from the scar. Back then, I would have been completely wowed. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't need him to be chiseled. He looked great.
Yeah. But he did have a nice body. But that was my first thought too. Like when we saw him without a shirt on, I'm like, now he would be jacked.
Oh
like,
my God.
He would be like
chiseled.
Chiseled.
His heart can't take that kind of cardio. So
it's true. Okay, so then when she goes back there, she like asks him to a hockey game, and then she sort of gentles him as you would a horse.
I wrote that exact same thing. My notes were, she's sort of gentling him like a horse. Like she takes his, she takes his hand and like sort of like, easy now, boy. Like, whoa.
Yes, horse girls
I'm gonna
unite.
go get
horse
some
girls
tea or
unite.
something while you guys be horse girls at each other. I don't know if I can participate.
I just love, she monologues again at him about something about if the sugar jars are low, then she gets a lot of tips. She doesn't have a lot to work with sometimes in the script, but she really gives it her all. And
she's asked to do so much.
Yeah.
She carries this movie. It's her movie. He doesn't have to really act at all other than look mystified all of the time.
Right.
He doesn't really, I mean, Christian Slater is a good actor, but in this one, I think that he kind of just dials it in. But
she has to convince us that she's falling in love with him. Right. And I mean, he is objectively extremely creepy and leering. Like, and for her to kind of carry this love story that is very difficult to accept, like really up until barely close to the end of the movie, and like make us believe it. I mean, like, very talented.
I think it's the fact that we know from her, that we just know, especially from her crying breakup scene in the truck, that she's someone that just has a huge amount of heart. And that's a theme, obviously, they play with. You know, she has a lot of heart to give. I'll give you my heart, that type of thing. And we know that she's just got a lot of love, and she's just been like a unguided laser, just like trying to aim it on the right person. She's weird and she's intense too. Like,
it's true.
Yeah, she goes from 0 to like wife me in about 5 minutes. So, and she's so like vulnerable and verbose. Like she doesn't hold anything back ever. Okay, so then the brother doesn't show up and she's about to walk home and she's really freaked out about it. But then she sees him come out of the back and they make this wordless agreement that he is going to walk her home. And then he does
But he does not.
What? Oh my God, that's
He does not walk her home. He walks her to his subterranean lair. First, he talks about meteors for a little bit. And then he's like, I want to show you something, which is like not what you want to hear. Like he did save her from that other rape, but he's still like real creepy. And like, she's like, okay, I guess.
I keep questioning, how does she know at this point that he's not going to try to rape her in the heart?
Right.
I mean, and he does take her to an unexpected door, and you can see that she's thinking, I ain't going in there. I'm not going in there. No one knows where I am.
And it's a creepy basement.
And he says, it's okay. This is where I live. And I'm like, that's an additional thing that makes it not okay, sir. Like, And then it gets even weirder inside. He asks if she wants ice cream multiple times.
She's
He
like,
doesn't
no.
know his dog's name because the dog never told him because he is a baboon. He has a weird photo of her that he stole from work and he like folded it so that no one else is in the photo but her, and she does find that.
Oh yeah. And then she's like, toodaloo, gotta scoot.
And then she leaves, willing to walk home alone very recently after an attempted sexual assault to get away from this man. And then he does follow her home
at a distance. Erin, okay, he had to walk his dog.
I don't know about you, but I hate it when men follow me at a distance everywhere I go.
Yeah, no, same.
Something I hate.
I honestly, I felt terrible for Caroline, and I feel like I would have felt kind of betrayed that to realize the depth of his stalking, and I would have felt lured, and I'm sure that she probably ran the whole way home crying. That's what I would have done.
Oh,
Which
certainly.
then, when we get into the following scene for the next day, that's what there is a bit of a disconnect for me, and perhaps you guys feel it too. When she wakes up on Christmas Day and her dad comes out in his slippers, and the Christmas tree is completely destroyed, like destroyed like an animal would have, like an animal has come in and
would have.
Like he put it in his mouth and ragdolled it back and forth. Like, really?
That's what it looks like. That is a perfect description of what the Christmas tree looks like.
And then it cuts to her room, and there's a fully decorated Christmas tree set up at the foot of her bed.
Just leaning creepily. So what this man has done is he has broken into her home on Christmas Eve, which you might think rare. No. We find out later it's not. But he's broken into her home as he does on a normal Tuesday. But tonight was Christmas Eve. So what he did was he took a full-on fucking Christmas tree, Douglas fir, and took it through her front door, up the stairs while she was asleep. Can you imagine a man setting up a Christmas tree in your room while you're snoozing? And then he ransacked the family Christmas tree
to make sure they couldn't use it,
to the point where he damaged it.
Oh yeah.
And took all of the ornaments and decorated it in her room, and then scuttled away into the darkness. And she wakes up and she's happy.
And she's like in her underwear, like she's wearing a top and underwear, and gets out and
she looks so good. Oh my gosh,
so good.
It's just outrageous. Like
truly,
I mean, she's kneeling underneath the Christmas tree. Anyone that is willing to kneel on camera in their underwear is confident. And she has reason for it. And she's enchanted. She brings her nose up to it. She smells it. She's smiling. She knows that it was Adam because he gets at least one free Christmas tree a year, I'm assuming.
And he knows where she lives.
And so that's fine with her. Like, she's so enchanted. And it's really Edward Cullen vibes big time, isn't it? Like, this is Twilight before Twilight. Did Stephanie ever watch Untamed Heart and just internalize that and think, you know what, watching someone sleep is really, really beautiful.
Sexy.
I'm going to borrow that.
Hot stuff.
So if that had been me, I would have been screaming for my dad to come and
someone
lock
needs
all
to
the
call
doors.
the police.
Yes. No, but what does she do instead? She bakes some cookies.
Right. I have a question as to what and I know, and I do like that the parents are kind of background noise, like Sally said, but what did they think?
Right.
Transpired? Like, what did she tell them? Like, oh yeah, like I just went last night and got a Christmas tree and like put it in my room and took all your ornaments and put it in it. I'm just like selfish. Like, I just love Christmas. Like, what a weird thing for the parents to have to like piece together for themselves.
Oh my God.
I mean,
incredible.
That's just details. And for a teenager, you don't care what your parents think.
True.
I don't think it bothered me in the 90s. I was like, you know what? Just tell them, shut up, mom, shut up, dad, and then slam your door. And then
I don't think it bothered Caroline, but being an older person now, I feel more for the parents of like what is happening in my home.
The other humans who inhabit this house.
All right, so she makes these cookies and brings them to him on the day after Christmas.
And it's raining cats and dogs.
Yes.
And he does not invite her in. She has to ask to come in, even though it's raining down on her.
Not before he first eats one of her cookies, making full eye contact with her like a total creep. Asks again if she wants ice cream, then feeds her cookies to his dog while she's standing there watching him.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's really hurtful, isn't it? To have to have someone take one bite of a biscuit
Make
and
a
then give
weird
it to
face.
their dog. Yeah.
You made a
she
weird
says, "Oh,
face, too.
they are a little bit sugary, I guess." And he's not like, "Oh no, they're good." He just
looks
them
at
all
her,
to the dog,
mystified. And then she's like, he's so awkward and silent and feeding her cookies to his dog that she's like, "Is this a bad time? Should I go?" And he's like, "What? No." And so she, lightning fast, she's like, "Okay," and takes off her coat and like plops down onto a seat. She's like, "OMG, he invited me to stay. I live here now.
Love being in this lair."
And
Truly.
it's like it plays out as the worst date that you've ever been on, where like he has like never asked her anything about herself at all.
Because
he just
knows it all
and
already. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like that's why.
He's been going through the trash. That's true.
Yes.
Like, and she's honestly very enchanted by his strangeness. She's like really selling this scene that she's really seduced. You know, he says her name for the first time and she's like, "I never heard you say my name before." And I'm thinking, like, not even at work, like not even like, "Here, Caroline. Ooh, don't trip over that, Caroline." Or
I know, right?
They
I
work
don't think
together.
he's ever said a word at work until that thank you when she was walking away from his. Like, I don't think he's ever said a word within earshot of
Which
her.
is hilarious because then the second through fourth words he said was, "I follow you," you know?
Yeah. So then he just he has his turn at last for a monologue where he tells us the exact same story that we already know from the prologue at the beginning, which I feel like it really took away from the impact of finding out that this young man believes wholeheartedly that he has a Baboon King's heart. I feel like if they hadn't have shown that in the beginning, I feel like his scene would have been more bonkers and more frightening and weird and cool. But we actually already know that. And if I had written that as a book, the editor would have crossed out one of those scenes.
Right. Completely. Yeah. He also
has the records though. Yeah. Would you like to see my records is a very normal 90s line that I kind of was like, okay, we're getting there. And then it's like, they're old and they're magic and they stop the rain. And then like, they're creepy. They're like that Moulin Rouge song. Like for a glimmering moment, he was like, you want to check out my records? And then it turned like magic, like, you know?
Anyway, so she's like, "So you believe that, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah."
But immediately after she tells that story and it clips to her face, like the records thing and the Baboon Heart situation, she's into it. Like,
oh yeah,
she's wet. Like she enjoyed this encounter, even though she's kind of like, "So like this is something you like say out loud to people?" Like even though she doesn't believe him, she's like, this is a hot guy.
I think this is my destiny, is what she's thinking. And then she's like, "Oh, it stopped raining." He's like, "Yeah, I put on the records. What do you?" Of course it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
And then she just decides that, like, she wants to get her hands on him. And what's a fairly innocent way to get your hands on someone and gentle them slowly? Someone maybe that's always covered in sap and
and you're in beauty school.
Yeah.
"Would you like me to cut your hair?" And then he's like, he blinks for a little bit and then they're going to her house because that's where she keeps her scissors.
That's right. It's true.
And her special clips. She had a bunch of clips on his towel too.
Yeah. So she washes his hair in the sink and he says, "Ouch." And she says, "I'm sorry, that's too hot." And then she sits him down.
He was enjoying it too. Like he had a little kind of like cat-like sort of smile to his little mouth. As he was laying there feeling, you know, she's sort of dangling her breast like directly over his face as she's washing his hair. And there's some dishes in the sink, I think. It's really chaotic and messy and I love it. It's like exactly how like a teenager would wash another teenager's hair in the sink. I know he's supposed to be 26, but I've decided in my mind that these guys are 18. This whole thing feels like a new adult novel from like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago or some fan fiction.
Yeah.
In that, like, you know, like the other character, like the parents, you know, are just a cardboard cutout and there's lots of creeping into windows. It really hits that spot for me that I enjoy. yeah, so I mean, like she's got her hands on him at last, like, and he's coping with it. I mean, it's probably his first human touch other than squeezing her hand. So.
And that's what he tells her. He's like, he tells her that because he grew up sickly, he wasn't allowed around other kids or people, and because they were afraid of like infection or whatever. But I do
because his baboon heart would become infected.
Yeah, but I do really wonder if like Mother Camilla just imprinted on him and decided that he was hers, you know? Like there was a little bit of that I got in the beginning. Anyway.
I mean, so well, this is essentially him telling her that he's a virgin. Like, like that's the strong inference that I get, which makes the next action that he does kind of surprise me. He's babbling about how, you know, I'm always looking for love and you're always staying away from love. And he just looks up at her with almost like no emotion in the eyes whatsoever and just raises his hand up. I think it was the hand that wasn't bandaged. And he just puts his hand on her breast.
He just does a honk.
Kind of paws it, like it's kind of more of like a cat pawing at her boob in a way. And again, I have to say, like, I really saw this coming. The whole time she was washing his hair, he was like trying to look at her face, but he was really focusing on that boob. And like the whole time she was cutting his hair, he was like, I wrote several notes that were like, he won't stop looking at that right boob. Like, what is his fucking deal? This guy is so fucking creepy. So when he reached up to try to be like on it, I was like, yeah, it's the natural next step.
Is it? I mean, yes, I hear what you're saying, and I think it is valid, but it still knocked me out of my chair.
Yeah, it was jarring. Yeah,
like I was just like, the honk. You just go to honk it first. And her response is, come upstairs with me.
Yes.
Immediate. No other words are spoken. Nothing. Come with me. Come with me. She takes him upstairs.
It's very Jenny and Forrest.
He's still got the
like,
towel
it's very
around.
Forrest Gump.
Oh, you're right.
Yes, it is very Forrest Gump. Oh my gosh, that is perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
unlike Forrest got the job done. Christian Slater just starts sobbing into her bare tits.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
sorry.
I mean, it's like he's got the towel around his shoulders, his hair's wet, and they have one kiss, and then she just takes off her top, like, and then
sits on the bed.
The scene starts to change for me, where I start to think, because he's starting to panic.
Yeah.
And he's finally acting for the first time in this movie, I think, where he's got his big ballooning oversized 90s like brown pants with the brown belt.
Yes.
And does he take his top off? I can't remember.
I think she takes his
I think she
off.
strips it off of him.
And then she takes the bra off and he looks like he's about to start screaming. Like,
oh yeah.
And it starts to feel kind of like, is he consenting to this or is he like frozen in panic? We get our answer when he bursts into tears and she rocks him like a baby.
And says she loves him and she's going to give him her heart.
Are you crying? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She says, I'm going to fall in love with you. You don't have to fall in love with me back. I'm going to give you my heart. As he just sobs, he just covers her tits in tears.
I just want to read you my my thought process / notes were, yes, all caps, exclamation point. Finally, it's going to bang. This movie bangs. ... No, it doesn't. Oh no, he can't handle it. And he's sobbing. And then I wrote the verbatim quote, which imagine being Marisa Tomei and seeing this in the script. Are you crying? Oh, okay, you are. I'm in love with you. You don't have to love me back. I'm going to give you my heart. Like that's a stiff line to have to have to get out. And she did it really well.
She did it perfectly.
And then she didn't cut his hair, which like I was really pumped for the makeover. Like I was really psyched for the haircut.
Absolutely. I thought that she was going to maybe go into her dad's wardrobe and find like a new pair of slacks.
Yeah.
And suddenly but you know what? His hair is clean. It's bouncy. He jumps over the railing with a smile and looks up at her, and he appears like he's like lighter from having a cry and having his hair washed. And I honestly relate so much to it.
Right? Like that is very relatable.
And I mean, don't discount touching boobs for the first time. Like, honestly. I think that's part of the lightness in his step. Like, even though it turned into traumatizing there at the end, you know, I
he got a good nuzzle in there.
Yeah.
And then the relatability just continues when she invites him over for her New Year's Eve party, and he spends the entire night sitting out the front patting a cat instead of coming inside. I relate. I mean, what was she thinking? I would never have invited like this weird guy to my family's house for a family New Year's Eve party. But
Yeah,
she, like
a
she
person
He's there every night.
I mean, well, no, but a person who's like obviously uncomfortable around people singular, let alone raucous crowds. And so, and when she's telling him, she's like, you can come to my New Year's Eve party. You don't have to come as my boyfriend or anything, although I'd like it if you would. And he's like, yeah, I'll come there to that. And she's like, and then he does sit outside for 2 hours in the Minnesota winter,
hungrily petting a cat that he's considering devouring like a baboon. Listen, this was full on irony for me, for a guy who breaks and enters into this home every evening, didn't feel confident enough to knock on their door.
He knows the layout.
Yeah, you know the floor plan. You know how to shimmy into that garage or the basement window, like the 2-foot JonBenet window you can shimmy into every night and then creep up their stairs.
Christian
But you
Slater.
can't knock on their front door, bro.
I know. You've destructed property in there. Like
he's probably watched her parents sleep. Like,
oh no.
Oh my God,
he
you're
probably
right.
already knows them. Like he probably can pick them out of the room.
Oh my God, you're
Like,
right.
But look, who hasn't wanted to sit out there in the dark and just
hang out with the pet?
Totally.
Should have run away again. I realized in this scene he has a slight monobrow, but I'm still there for it because in the 90s you didn't have to have great eyebrows, especially if you're a guy. And then they have this kiss on the porch swing. I like that she kind of accepts, like she's just like, oh, you're sitting out here. Oh, you. Like she accepts that he's like he's an odd bod and she goes with it. I like that about her.
Yeah,
and then they have this kiss. It's really awkward and it's really cute. I have a question for you guys. I asked myself several times throughout the movie, is Christian Slater a good kisser or not? What are your thoughts?
I thought it was a good kiss. Yeah. I thought it started weird because it strikes midnight and she's like, you can kiss me if you want. And then he sort of like turns around because he's staring at her family in a way that also makes me think he wants to devour them. And he turns his head back to her and they start kissing. And then it turns into a real good kiss. Like he cants his head in a direction that looked real good. I was into it.
I think his kiss acting is good because it starts the first like 2 or 3 kisses they have. He's very like doesn't understand it. This is the first, I think, good one. And then by the time they're at the hockey game at the end,
he's going well. He's got it down.
A good point to ask that in my research, extensive research, this movie won the 1993 MTV Movie Award for Best Kiss. But I honestly couldn't tell you which kiss was supposed to have been the great kiss.
Oh, we need to get
Bear in mind that the first award was awarded the year before. The first ever MTV Movie Award kiss was for Anna Chlumsky in My Girl kissing Macaulay Culkin.
What?
They had an actual child come up on the stage at the MTV Movie Awards and accept her award. It was so inappropriate. And maybe we'll link for people that you can actually see Marisa Tomei and Christian Slater accepting their award. There's a short clip on YouTube where they want to be anywhere but there. They are embarrassed. They're mortified. This is beneath them. Marisa looks horrible. All shades of awkward. But yeah.
So it's not like the Notebook actors where they reenacted the Huju kiss?
No, they both waved to their partners in the crowd and were like,
yeah, that is kind of weird.
Not as bad as giving the award to children, but you know.
So that award opened up first with children and then second with bestiality.
Wow.
Considering.
Wow, MTV. Okay.
Great.
Choices.
Okay. So actually I have a note here. Then they have a normal good makeout. So I definitely thought that this was the first good normal kiss.
Yeah.
Okay, but next we have ice skating.
She's ice skating with Rosie Perez.
Rosie Perez smoking while ice skating was really iconic.
So good.
Yeah.
And she was wearing one of those in the 90s, like we loved these like big velvet kind of bucket hat that had the brim folded up all the way around. So she was wearing like a really on-trend hat in that scene. The whole costuming, I think, was great in this movie. Like, everybody just wore normal clothes. Nobody looked like they'd, been provided with a wardrobe, put it that way. They looked like they're wearing their own clothes.
Yeah, and I really liked the set design for the houses as well. Like it really just seemed like a working class suburban, or not suburban, but like urban suburban kind of home.
I agree. Really cluttered and a normal house, not a set. I think even the diner looked real. Yeah. And then Caroline confesses that she's dating Adam as they skate around.
Yeah, because Rosie Perez
says, why?
Why?
Yeah.
Why is such a good comeback to that? But it's because Cindy's trying to guilt Caroline into going on a double date with her and her boyfriend and her boyfriend's friend.
Right.
And she's like, I'm seeing someone. And Rosie Perez is like, what?
It's a great response, really, isn't it? And the way Caroline explains it, and to us as the audience, Cindy is really like us, the audience, like, what? Why? Like fill in the blank for me here. And Caroline just explains it. I don't make sense. He doesn't make sense. Together we make sense. And we're supposed to just go, okay, yep, I accept that.
I'm sorry I bought it. I was like, oh yeah, let's do it.
Well, she also says, I was nearly raped this night. He saved me from this rape. Like, she kind of tells her the whole thing, because she hasn't even told Rosie Perez about that. And, it's like, he saved me. Then she's like, and he's an orphan, which we talked about on the show, the sexiness of orphans and how they appeal to women. Adult orphans are very appealing.
Rosie Perez even has the line, like something like, I never met a real orphan before. And she's like, okay, maybe I'm seeing the appeal here.
Right.
And then Marisa says something like, he's like a kid, but it's nice. And he thinks he's got a baboon heart. These are the sort of things you really debate telling your friend about when you're ice skating. You're like,
not if you're Caroline.
No, she can't.
Caroline's just like normal stuff over here.
No filter. And then after she's explained in the fairly emotional scene that she was attacked and that was why she took off work, Cindy then continues to pressure her into joining on this double date, which for me was incredibly poor timing. And poor script writing. She did her best with what she had, but when we cut to the nightclub scene, which I assume that they only did because they really didn't want another scene in the diner. Maybe they wanted a little bit of color and music and outfits, and we see that she's not getting along with her date because now she's really lost her heart. She doesn't want an ordinary man that will talk about himself and his background.
No.
But his father does for a living.
I kind of thought it was the nightclub scene of like, this is a young woman in a big city who should be out at nightclubs and doing these kind of like fun things.
Right.
And she's never going to be able to do these things with Adam because he's deeply weird. And so like kind of showing the juxtaposition of like, this is a fun thing. She should want to do this. She should want to hang out with her friends, but then she's not happy there because she wants to be in his like subterranean lair with him, listening to his dusty records from Moulin Rouge.
If I had been her, I would have been happy to watch Rosie Perez dancing all night. I would have stood up, leaned on that railing, and she was tearing it up. She was grabbing the bottom of her dress and kind of dragging it up her own thighs and things like that. And wearing this red dress, hot stuff. The guy she was with was keeping up as best he could on the dance floor. Oh my gosh. 90s moves for days. I loved it.
So good.
And it was so good. But then they go back to the diner because there's nowhere else to go apparently, than to where you work. Why do you be there?
I don't know. Was like Rosie Perez trying? I kind of struggled with this. Like, was she trying to take her to the diner as like a move to try to get her to not be with Adam anymore?
I thought she was trying to rub it in Adam's face a bit. Like,
Rosie.
just tell him that you're here with friends, hoping that he would get insecure and break up with her because she doesn't.
I love it. It's not a great friendship move.
No. So anyway, while she's there, she's looking for Adam and she can't find him because he's taking out the trash and then getting stabbed.
I know. I was shocked. I've seen this movie so many times, but the stabbing still shocked me.
Wow.
It was
Stanford
extreme.
came back. Okay. Stanford and that other tall guy, and they beat him up and then stab him in the stomach. He has an abdominal wound now, and he pulls it out. And I was just sitting there,
bird click, bird
pulling
click.
out
Knives. Why does this always happen in all of the romance movies? If somebody stabs you in the torso, do not pull that knife out.
No.
We're saving lives here on this podcast. Don't pull knives out.
Yeah.
Do you know what gets me is when someone pulls the hand cannula out in the hospital when they want to leave.
Oh, yeah.
That just, I feel it
that
right
happens
down
in this movie too.
Yeah, I know. It's just, these are also some trigger warnings, I guess. If you hate moments like that, close your eyes. And it's a pretty intense scene. Like when he's being wheeled into the ambulance, did you notice that the soundtrack was his shaky breathing?
Yeah.
It was quite and Caroline hops into the ambulance like she's his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
because she is.
She is. In her mind, she is. And then the doctor tells her again, like she's his next of kin, that it's not the knife wound we're worried about.
It's his heart.
It's his baboon heart.
He has a baboon heart. No, he says it's his heart. It's not the normal heart of a 26-year-old man. Now, I love that the viewer can read into that what they will. I mean, they couldn't. Surely, if there had been additional, surely the doctor could not have resisted to have added.
They couldn't get at it though. He said that he like attacked them every time that they tried to get to the heart.
But yeah, like the doctor was like, we tried to get a look-see at that heart because we were thinking it was less than human.
They didn't say less than human. You're embellishing. All we know is that it's not a normal heart of a 26-year-old man, and we know that he has a congenital defect.
Right.
And it's been left untreated for far too long. Now, I think that we can agree that he hasn't mentioned a baboon heart at this point, but as Erin said, it took 5 people to hold him down to even try to get a little bit of a better idea.
I know.
I mean, that was, the inference was that he was strong and he could live a good long while.
Right.
So that did cheer up Caroline significantly. And then she went to the police station and did a lineup and picked out the 2 attackers.
Yes.
That was satisfying, wasn't it?
It really was. And
I wish she'd done that herself, like of her own volition, rather than as a result of something that happened to Adam. But
I know.
Is it she doesn't think she's worth it? Like,
yeah, I think that's a pretty good commentary because when she's talking to Adam, she says, like, I guess I can trust you not to say anything because it's an embarrassing thing for a girl. And I was like, no, it's not. Not at all. You're just a victim. Like, that's not embarrassing for you. But yeah.
It shows how far we've come since 1993.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I think I'm glad that she went to the police station. Long overdue. She goes home and lies and stares at the ceiling. And then Adam wakes up and tears out his cannula.
That moment when he just like rips out his IV was like, I hate it when they rip out IVs. And
Me too.
It's so gross.
Me too. It's just horrendous. I almost had to turn it off at that point.
Hey, HBs. I started an Etsy store. Did you know? Right now, it's full of all the St. Vincent items you need. Because St. Vincent is thoughtful and cozy all year round. We've got a book sleeve to keep your books, planners, e-readers, or really anything else safe when you're on the go. The inside is fuzzy, and they feel so incredibly lush in your hands. I went round and round with the manufacturers to make sure I had just the right thickness. Those feature art of St. Vincent and Evie during their carriage adventure that was painted by the amazing Mayara Faraz on one side, and then I created a St. Vincent Would Always wreath on the other side that has a bunch of little Easter egg items in it. There's a St. Vincent Would Always warm brick enamel pin. It's like, if you know, you know. I designed a special edition Marriage of Convenience candle that is specific to Devil in Winter, with the help of HB Jen at Post Pouring Company. It combines dark amber for St. Vincent and rosewood for Evie, and it smells so delicious. It's hard to even wrap my brain around. So if you want to treat yourself Or be the St. Vincent you want to see in the world by getting a care package for a friend. Check out our Etsy store. The link is in the show notes.
So then he just like staggers up to her at her.
No,
Yeah.
Caroline's
Oh,
doing
wait.
her beauty school
Right.
exam.
We
But
can't skip this.
She should have cancelled. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Let this be a warning to anyone that is overtired and has like had a really traumatic experience. If you have a beauty exam the next morning, I beg of you, like, just cancel it.
You got to cancel it.
That's
But
such
that
specific
lady
advice,
was
but it
also
will
a
probably
dick.
help more people than will get stabbed that
Yeah.
listen to our podcast.
It's true.
Yeah.
But the lady she was working on was also
Yeah, that
a
lady
dick.
was nuts.
Yeah.
Like-
she for a free haircut, she expected a lot.
Mhm.
She only wanted a trim, which she mentioned 10 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Only a trim. Caroline is at the end of her rope
Mm-hmm.
up there trying to trim off this lady's already incredibly short hair.
She's like, it's too cold for short hair. And I was like, ma'am, you came in here with very short hair. What are you doing?
Don't cut off a lot just to impress your boss. Like, what?
And
Ma'am.
then Caroline then absolutely blows up on her and calls her a fat cow.
She
I
does
think.
do that.
Yeah, that's rough.
Which, yeah, it's rough, and it was uncalled for. I mean, she'll never cut it as a hairdresser if this is what breaks her. Really.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But
And
now she's
then you're
home.
right. Adam's back at her house.
She's trying to get a ride to the hospital. And then he's like there, like staggering up to her door, like all beaten and bloodied and like, you know, probably not super healed from his nearly deadly stab wound.
Oh, yeah.
And he has brought her flowers. Then she brings up the transplant and he gets like really mad
Yeah.
because he doesn't want anyone taking his baboon heart away because it's part of his identity.
And he says, plus, if they take it away, I don't know if I'll be able to love you the same.
Ugh, it's such a line, and
It's such a
she's
line.
so impacted by it, and we all would have been.
I mean,
she was blown
swoosh.
away. She was just blown away from the flowers that he'd had in his coat.
True.
Like that was enough that she was going to write in her diary about that night. But that line, and you know, I was wondering if you think about me half as much as I think about you. And there was actually a pretty good kiss out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where he fully reveals the extent of the stalking, that he knows how to get in through the door into the basement door, and he comes and watches her because she's so peaceful. And it's like such Edward Cullen vibes.
It's very like because he says, like you just said, Sally, like do you think about me as much as I think about you? And she's like, yeah, I think about you like all the fucking time. And he's like, no, you don't understand. I do break into your home every night and watch you sleep. And then she's like, oh, okay, well maybe not. Maybe you do think about me more. And then he says that he has disturbing dreams about the jungle and surviving in the jungle from his baboon heart, and like he watch her sleep to calm him down.
He starts this whole thing by saying, like, I have to tell you something and it might make you mad. And then it has zero impact on her. She's like, really? How do I look when I sleep? Like,
I know.
What?
Only someone that looks like Marisa Tomei, who probably looks hot as fuck, even like in a tank top and undies and no makeup. And she would have like been like laying there with her like her thigh like hitched up like on a pillow or something.
Completely.
Like she was fine with that, but for me as an adult, I recognize this is not right. This is inappropriate. This is frightening. The dad needs to go and fix up the door on that porch. And I mean, like this is so classic, like new adult, young adult, or
completely.
Like fan fiction. It's like he's such a blank canvas that, and as a teenager in the 90s, guys were like this. They were like greasy loners who you could project anything that you wanted onto them. You didn't know if they thought about you ever, or if they loved you, or if they hated you. And I mean, this character for me was that blank canvas, you know, and you could color in behind all around and imagine this incredibly lonely life, and I am the one that can break in and teach him how to be a human again. Like that was romantic for me back then. Not
I mean,
so
it was romantic for me last night.
I feel like building a man from the ground up is still kind of romantic.
Pretty
for you.
romantic.
Like, I don't want to like call you on it, but it seems like the book you just wrote.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't mean to say true things, but it seems like
I know. Like, yeah, this is true because I think every editor received a submission from their authors throughout this pandemic that was basically really off the rails.
Sure.
And they've all had to make do and roll with it because all of the books are weird. And yes, I did write a book about like a girl who makes her dream man from scratch. Literally
so
from
excited
scratch.
for it.
Me too.
Literally picking out the parts. And so like I feel that Untamed Heart is a way to get to know me better, don't you think? I love it. And then this scene that we're watching in the movie, it just segues into him sleeping peacefully in his bed at home. And they've clearly done the deed.
Yeah,
did you say, or did he just cry some more?
They're doing a snuggle. She looked like a
I think
woman who had a recent orgasm.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like she was doing okay over there.
With his like sappy dishwasher hands. Like
No, I think he just starfished and she rode him. I think that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely.
And he definitely would have cried at some point. I know that he would have. It was too big of a leap to make.
Yeah.
Kissing on the porch. I think he would have been overwhelmed. But he looked great for someone that had just been in the hospital for being beaten almost to death and stabbed. I was worried about the stab wound. Is he
Me
okay?
too.
Like, I don't think he should have done that. But she sort of.
And honestly, I was also worried about his heart.
Yeah.
The whole everything. Yeah, that's why he definitely just laid there. It's fine. It's fine.
And then we just go into a happiness montage.
Oh my gosh. She's really teaching him. She's making him into a real boy.
Yes.
She is.
It's a dating montage where they're doing normal stuff. Like he's showing her the orphanage where he was never touched. And he's whittling tiny birds like you do.
They go and Caroline finally sorts out her transportation issue. And I was actually really proud of her when she bought a car.
Yeah.
They took the cute photo of her holding the keys up. And then he actually attends the poker night and she sits on his lap and like makes out with him like in like front of everyone, which I felt was really socially inappropriate.
And helps him cheat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then they walk the dog. That dog really needed to be trained better.
But he drops the leash too. Listen, here's the thing. It seems like a montage of normal dating stuff, but it only seems that way because we've been dealing with such weird dating stuff for the last hour and a half. So like when it gets to here, you're like, oh, finally it's normal. But every single thing they do is deeply weird. And if it would have been in a normal movie, you'd be like, huh? What are they doing? They're cheating at poker at her workplace and then making out in front of all her coworkers.
Oh my gosh.
You know.
But then it's Adam's birthday. It's Adam's birthday, but he's prepared a present for her that's wrapped on his table.
Mm-hmm.
She gives him a scarf and then she's wrapped a bow around herself like she's the present too. And I thought that was cute.
It's very cute, but I expected them to bang then.
Yeah, me too.
But if you put a bow on yourself, you better be ready to throw down right there. That's how I feel. Like, yes. And it's like, oh, we've got tickets to a hockey game. And it's like, don't put a bow on your tits, you know? Like, yeah, exactly.
Would like to unwrap. So she takes him to a hockey game. And this is like her favorite thing. And it's been sort of dropped throughout the movie. She fucking loves hockey. So
it's not his favorite thing. That was so weird. I thought, well, at the very beginning, she did ask him if he wanted to go to a hockey game, and he said yes.
Yeah, but also, what is his favorite thing, Erin? What would they do? Okay.
They would walk around at night, and he would suddenly get really overexcited and animated and tell her more about stars.
And Mars.
He corrected her, like, she was wishing on a star, and he corrected her and said that was Mars. And I'm thinking, how does he know which one she was wishing on? Like,
I know.
He's got it. He feels he has a lot of knowledge in that one specific area.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, for me, it was so cringeworthy when she was leading him into the hockey stadium and he had the scarf tied around his face. Oh, I died.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was so bad. How embarrassing. I mean, why did she have to do that? Like, I feel like
she could take it off in the parking lot. Like,
yeah. And like, he's already a frightened man that needs a lot of gentling. I think that leading him into this blindfolded was a terrible idea. And then we have the scene, like, and it's got this sort of like 90s kind of like sort of upbeat, like Walking in Memphis kind of bright, sparkling piano score over the top where we're finally happy. And then the greatest,
that's how you know it's going to end in tragedy.
And we're doing normal stuff.
Like the slow motion, we go into slow motion and we know that something big is coming. It's the first time slow motion has been employed in this whole movie. And what is it? What's coming?
Just that hockey puck.
That hockey puck does come barreling at them at 97 miles
this
an hour.
This is the other safety tip I'm going to give. Don't pull knives out of your stomach, and also don't try to catch a hockey puck if it's coming at you. It's not like baseballs. They have actually like safety things so that these don't come at you. Please don't.
That would have shattered every bone in his hand.
Right?
Like it would have had to, you know?
I took a puck like right below the clavicle one time, and honestly, it's like the worst. I've broken bones that hurt less than this. Like it was, I thought I was going to die. I thought my heart stopped, and I guess it could. I mean, if you're hit really hard in the chest, that can happen. I thought I was going to die.
Do you think that maybe the kiss that happens now is the kiss that won them the award? Because they just become overcome by the excitement of catching this puck. They kiss a lot. He licks her on the neck. They did have a good kiss just before they left for the hockey as well. And she kind of, you see a bit of tongue, and I'm like, oh, like now we're getting somewhere. Like, you know, what else is she going to teach him? Like,
loved it.
I couldn't tell if he was a good kisser. I can't get a read on him. And it was a weird moment to like passionately make out in front of everyone, but
I think he is hands down a good kisser. It's just the moments are weird. I was very into the last 3 kisses.
Same.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I was very
from porch swing, from like when he was like alfing outside with that cat, like preparing to eat it on. I really enjoyed all the kissing.
Okay, so now we're driving home.
And Mel had already told me that this movie ends sad. So we're driving home. We just had this high point, and I'm like, okay, this is it. This is when we City of Angels. Like, this is the time when like they're in the car accident or whatever. And neither of them are wearing seatbelts because it's 1993.
Yes.
It was just, I was at like the height of like something terrible, and they kept looking at each other instead of looking at the road. And I'm like, stop fucking look at the road. Wear a seatbelt. I was certain they were going to get in a horrific car accident.
And everything just starts to feel like you feel it coming when like she sort of says, "Good game, huh?" And he's like, "Good game." What they really mean was it a good life?
Yeah.
It was a good life. I'm happy now.
Yeah, you know, like he says that like he's the happiest he's ever been, or maybe that's later. But I think they're like making plans for the future in the car, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll bring you all to all the games. I'm so glad that you loved it as much as I do." And then he falls asleep in his seat, and so she drives all the way home, and everything's fine. But then she does pull up outside of his subterranean lair, and he won't wake up.
It's incredible, like the range that she shows in this moment, where she just goes from sort of like, "Wake up, silly, you know, come on, baby, come on, you got to wake up," and then she starts to get annoyed, like, is he like teasing me? Is this a joke?
Right.
And then it just starts to dawn, and everything just drains out of her, and it's incredible acting. And he's died.
Yeah.
Like, and she screamed crying in the car. Incidentally, she's never looked more gorgeous than in this scene. Her hair looked amazing.
True.
But it was just like, that was the moment too where I really felt like, I keep saying it, but it's so much like a new adult novel, like that, you know, it's the first time we've seen her driving a car or looking like a big grown-up girl, and she's just had this really great date, and then it's all come crashing down in this horrific tragedy.
So I was crying on my couch, like really, truly like sobbing on my couch. And my husband was like playing video games next to me. And he was like, what's going on? What's going on over there? And so I'm like trying to tell him about it. And then my 6-year-old, or my almost 6-year-old, was awake. And so he comes down and he's like, what's what's wrong with mom? And Michael went to put him back up into bed. And he was like, oh, mama just watched something sad or whatever. And then Embra looks at Michael and he goes, she watched something sad? Why did you trick her? It had nothing to do with this.
It was Sally Thorne that tricked her.
It was so funny, but it's so funny to me that my 5-year-old is like, she only watches happy endings. Like who did this to her?
I apologize, child.
No, it's fine. It was really cute.
Was fine. And I think it's because it's the only way this could have ended. Because if you take as true that the Baboon King did give him his heart,
which you do,
which I do, and I will die on that hill.
Mm-hmm.
If you take that as true, then I think we've got like a progression of like at the beginning of the movie, he's like hunched over. He's very animalistic. He doesn't know how to talk. He doesn't know how to love. He's like all of these things that are kind of like the baboon things.
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout the movie, he like kind of learns how to be a man and like love and like walk upright and like have understand like social settings and stuff like that. And like, I think the baboon heart just like kind of couldn't
handle it.
Take that. Yeah. And I think that he had to go. He had to have this experience and then he had to go.
Okay. He died happy. Like that's lovely. Like, we know that for sure. Like that's the most that he could hope for, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was so happy.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things as far as Caroline is concerned is that like we watch the funeral. She goes home and she opens
that sad fucking dog.
Oh my God, that
sad dog.
She seems to have inherited the dog, like the brother was holding its leash and
Hope it gets a name and some training.
But she goes back to his house and sees the present that he got her for his birthday. She opens it up and it's all of his records. And so he was he said, I'm giving you my records because I only need them when I'm sad and like it's raining in my life and I've never been happier. And so I want you to have them so that they can protect you. And like she's like happy crying, and she says right before this, she said to Cindy, I was really good at loving him.
It's the first thing she's ever been good at. It's the first thing she didn't quit at.
Oh
yeah.
Which like let's be honest, all of us would have quit at some point with this man. I mean, most of us would have never started. So like she is right. Like she quit beauty school, she quit high school, you know, like all these things that like Cindy was listing off that she couldn't complete. And man, she had more stick-to-itedness with this dude than anyone in the world would have, because they're, you know, fated mates.
But I feel like, I don't know that they're fated mates. I feel like he was a path to her sort of discovering her own worth, you know, because she kept on throwing herself at guy after guy after guy. And I feel like now she knows what she thinks is a healthy, fulfilling relationship. And I feel like she grew a lot through her weird relationship with this man. I don't know.
I feel like as a teenager, I was fine with the ending because you don't really expect your first boyfriend to like be your husband. You know, like it was okay that she's had this one great love, this great experience. She can feel good about that she brought some color into his life at the end of his life. You know, he was potentially going to die anyway, but he didn't die alone. So yeah, it's really hard to work out, you know, is this a happy romantic ending, or is this just a tragedy about someone who maybe needed a social worker and some health care and didn't know how to look after themselves and neglected his health to the point that he died at 26? Both things can be true.
This is the tragedy of America's capitalist medical system. Like this is
this isn't about capitalism. Not that I'm trying to defend capitalism, but like he would not let those people anywhere near his baboon heart. That's how because they tried to get in there and like drain fluids and stuff, and he wouldn't let them. He like woke up from a full-on unconscious state and was like, "Don't touch baboon heart."
But is mental
that has
health
nothing to do with his finances?
Part of healthcare.
I think that he needed an adult guardian. That's what I think.
He could not afford mental health care, nor did he have anybody in his life to tell him to go get some therapy. But you're right.
But it was also 93. Like, let's be honest, affording mental health care was not the barrier.
Fair.
Especially for men.
Fair.
Yeah, I think that Caroline obviously did become his guardian at some point. And I mean, I agree. How else could this have ended? Like, what? She just goes and moves into his strange little underground apartment, and then they just work at the diner together forever. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't really learn from Caroline at the end what her plan forward for herself is. I would have liked to have had a little bit more of a, you know, even like a line like, you know, I'm going to study to be a social worker to help other people, or like she had no plan for herself and her skills, but also she was very young, and you had the feeling that she didn't have to have it all figured out.
Right.
So she had that one true love, and yeah, it's romantic and weird.
Yeah,
I like it.
And I think it's part of the thesis of the movie too, that like that doesn't matter as much as, like, I felt like part of the movie was like jobs don't matter, where you are in your life doesn't matter, like those sort of superficial things don't. And I feel like she had a future, like she had a plan for her like future emotional life, but maybe not her like vocational life, you know? I don't know.
It's true. Completely. It's really like a romance novel in that sense, that the real focus is just the guy and her experience in that. And I feel like we really got that. We felt like we were there the whole time, experiencing all of the weird moments. I would have loved to have seen a scene where he was watching her sleep, or even a scene. Imagine the whole movie. I would kill if they did the whole movie from his point of view.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Midnight Sun.
Yeah.
Untamed Heart edition.
Tamed Heart.
Tamed Heart.
Tamed Heart.
Let's make it. Let's write it. Let's write the fanfic.
That's the one.
Let's get this a reboot on Netflix. Yes. Okay.
All right. Perfect.
All right.
Sally, do you have a lady love?
I do have a lady love. I had to rack my brains. I promptly forgot everything that I've ever loved.
Yeah. Yep. That happens every week to us. Don't worry about that.
Exactly the process.
Okay. My lady love is Angela Lansbury's Positive Moves.
What?
Positive Moves is a book written by Angela Lansbury when she was in the height of her Murder, She Wrote fame. This is in 1990.
Oh my God.
And she wrote a book about how she keeps so trim and active. My husband bought that for me on eBay. And I know that everyone listening is like, why recommend something that I cannot access? But don't worry, you can go on YouTube and you can look up, just put in Angela Lansbury's Positive Moves. There's also a video, an exercise video. And I'm saying in all seriousness that whilst it is funny, and she does wear a peach jumpsuit and pelvic thrust on her own Persian rug, it actually has really helped me just to remember that like doing some gentle stretches in your day can actually stop crippling back pain. So Angela Lansbury has saved my lower back.
Incredible.
Sally, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this. I'm obsessed. Oh gosh. This may be the best lady love ever in the history of the podcast. Like, this is fantastic. And if you're not looking at the video, if you have access to the video, but you're oh my gosh, but you're listening to the audio, like Sally is holding up this book and it's everything you want it to be. I'm obsessed with this lady love. Thank you.
It's enjoy. Go onto YouTube and you actually see her up to her neck in a bubble bath explaining that sensuality doesn't have to end when you're older, and that being a feminine woman and finding your husband attractive is something that you should strive for. A lot of she's still got it. She points a toe up out of the water. I found this from the Maintenance Phase podcast. They reviewed this book. They review a lot of old diet books, and generally it's quite positive moves. She just eats a big salad sandwich and eats when she's hungry and just does some stretches. And I can do that.
Love it. I love
my
it
God.
so much. Like, my heart is so full.
Yeah.
God, my lady love is
Sally,
so stupid.
You absolute genius.
You're a hot genius. I know we've said it many times on the show before, but just to your face, hot genius. Oh, I love it.
Take it. Thank you.
Okay, this movie put me in a very particular mood. And so today I listened to a song with 2 different versions. And that is, so the Cavaliers, it's the oh where can my baby be, that song. I don't know why, but I have always found that song to be incredibly, like, tragically romantic. And also Pearl Jam did it most recently, to my knowledge, and that one's called Last Kiss. And it was just like this nostalgic, like, taking me back to my teenage years when I was just like, oh, I just want somebody to be as obsessed with me as, like, this guy was with his dead girlfriend.
Why am I feeling like there's a Christian Slater movie that, like, has that song in it? Like, I feel like there's, like, something in my brain that associates the two.
In that Johnny Depp movie with the motorcycles and teardrop. No. His face would fit in that movie. I'll tell you that much.
Man, I very decisively said no, and watch me be wrong about that. But man, yeah, there is some kind of connection there. I'm going to pitch. So I really loved the first season of Never Have I Ever, but I don't think that I said anything about it on the show. And the second season is even better. Have you seen Never Have I Ever?
Better? Oh, yeah. I haven't watched the second season yet.
It's been at this point out for a while, but we were on hiatus when it came out. So I just want to say, if you haven't seen Never Have I Ever, it's just like a fantastic, fresh, young adult comedy, like love triangle, high school romance show that's just really funny and really, like, refreshing. And I really love it. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, the first season was so good. All right, Sally, where can they find you online?
Oh, the usual places. You'll find me if you want to find me.
Fair enough. We'll link it in the show notes too.
Sally Thorne Author on Instagram. And yeah, find me through my books.
I cannot wait for building my dream man. Is that out in the fall, right?
Angelica Frankenstein makes her match. The title that I thought they might try to get me to change the title, but I guess they were like, but even would we change it to? So they just said sure. They've really let me go wild with this.
I love it.
The book. They've let me have a map in the front cover, which is like another of my life dreams. The cover is incredible. Of course, it's really different to the Hidden Game, for which everybody will compare everything to, but I love that they let me do something different, and it's coming out, I think, in September in the States. So yeah, it's like a fall, like a Halloween type book. So hope you guys love it. It's different.
We will love it. We know that we will. And I love it when authors take risks and change what they're doing, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so keep being a badass.
Man,
and love yourself.
There's so many things. Love yourself.
Much as you love.
Don't pick that zit that you have. Leave it alone.
That is like sage advice. That's like a lady love in itself.
Yeah.
Mm.
One
Let's just go with it.
Never follow.
Yeah.
Never follow that one. Me. Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.